themselves. Just a really small opening. Okay, always do a sound for me. Always do a sound imitation. Yep. Nope. Nope. Sorry. Nope. Nope. Okay, so try to shorten the time between your thrust and the opening. Sometimes, I mean, this is up to your imagination. You can use lots of different vocal commands. Sometimes it's also good to do vocal confirmation from your side when you're doing the thrust, like the coach does. Okay, so try to be like instead of alright? Then after 10 repetitions, we move a little way, and we go into and then after 10 repetitions again, we move further and we make advanced lunge. Okay, just forward. Don't forget. I'm stressing this all the time. In order to make a bubble force thrust, in order to hit, you need to have a good structure or a good position of your body. So don't go like butter, okay, on a bed, but instead just really push the opponent with the power of your body. Okay, the thrust will be powerful when your hands are in unison with your body, when your shoulders are low, and when I'm just going there. Do not necessarily go up or down if you don't have to, okay? The longest distance you can cover will be always in the longest position in front of your body. All right? Let's do it. When you're ready. The only exception, when we are doing the thrust into the 4 hangers, okay? And 4 hangers can mean flug looks like this. All of that was flug, okay? Ox. All of that is ox, okay? So whichever you can. The only exception is if there is a larger opening and I'm potentially endangered by the opening, okay? So it means some people, for instance, when they fence, they do like this because they have quick snaps, okay? This happens. I know there are some Czech guys who do really have like this big strategy, like firing the blade. And if you've got someone like that, like if Matthew was just going I just go there, they would probably get rid of your blade or catch you somewhere, which is dangerous. In that regard, this is exactly the situation where we have to go and defend into one of the hanging positions. But if you remember, not before thrusting. So I'm not going like thrusting like this because again, shortening myself, I'm losing time, I'm endangering myself. But after doing the initial thrust, so here, boom, going, okay, in one continuous movement, okay? It's not long, it's like one very fast movement when even if the opponent is doing, I just lounge and go in order to cover myself, okay? Or alternatively, there are some guys who tend to do this, okay? And one of the things how to get rid of it is to one to thrust, and when it's about to connect, going down to parry, to block for just a little moment, okay? Now we will do this. So now the coach will give 2 different openings. Yeah, let's do just the 2. Okay, let's do just the left side because we do the left side most of the times anyways. So the coach either gives me a high opening or a lower one. Okay, it doesn't have to be here. Usually it's just somewhere here. So if it's a lower one, I go and I connect and end up in one continuous movement in hanging, okay? If it's a higher opening, I start thrusting and I end up in hanging, okay? If it's for any reason like very, very low, like this, I may not necessarily have to go there, okay? This is very rare. It's one of the approach against these positions. There are, of course, different approaches and we will explore some in the afternoon, but for now, just this, okay? All clear? All clear? So after blow process, where it happens that you might get a hit after. There are a few ways how to mitigate it or how to defend the afterblow. Of course, you may go into attack and parry. You may go attack absu. You may go and doing attack because attack is the best defense all the time. But one of those which I really like, and it's specific with thrust, is closing up with thrust and closing every possible line. Okay? In most cases, every possible lines means just closing one side completely. Okay? So in this case, so I get an opening, I go, I attach, and we still continue to the rear, and I'm just adjusting with my sword to the current position of this weapon. Okay? This is much easier to do than retreating, let's say, with a parry or continuing with another attack, because one thing which your brain is like subconsciously taking care of is like when you're attached, I just, I close my eyes, you retreat, I close my eyes and I can go because I have the haptic feedback. So your mind is just concentrated on having the right position of your hands depending on where the attack might go. Okay? So if you get me, we're trying to make the process easier for us to process in the fight in the middle after the touch has been made to prevent the potential afterthrow just by aligning my hands according to position of his. Okay? One more time. So I get an opening. I go. Okay? So I will stay attached. I will just go a bit with my coach to the rear and try to realign my hands according to the current position of his hands. Okay? For the coach, don't do like okay, because this is the lot. Usually it's good to make one opening, go down, and just slowly, one, one, one. So when I attach, I can follow the hands quickly, okay? If you want to make this a little bit more difficult, you just retreat a bit more fast. Alright? One more time. So stand, I'm given an opening, I want to trust. Okay? This is a very important exercise and a good thing to know. Okay? Come on. Because if there's a low position, of course, I will trust in the first place, but if I cannot trust, because in order to trust here, I will need to pull my blade, and pulling the blade means extra time, prolonging the movement. It makes absolutely no sense, okay? Unless we move or something. So in this case, we're gonna do this, and then just this. Okay, this is a very nice exercise. How to, again, employ some of the biomechanics with raising your body and with changing the point of the balance of your body. So here I'm like sort of pushing and then going, okay? Of course, do not let yourself get cut, so you can push parry, alright? So I'm here, pull. Here, pull, okay? One of the reasons why I would suggest and recommend to employ this body explosive like pushes and going a bit upward with your body is because you're putting extra pressure on the blade, and it's like extra thing he has to take care about. Okay, nobody, well, not nobody, but most people are not going to ignore this. They need to take care of it because it's like a sudden signal which comes, and in the moment when their brain processes this, you're already on the way to the second opening. Okay. If you can, I mean, you should be adding this to every Winden cut or a Schneller, how Mayer calls it. Just doing this, pushing a little, because with most people, if you push them, what do? They push back. Everybody, I know, everybody's, oh, I would not push back, I would just yield. Yeah, shit. Some people yield, but most people push back. This is why the simplest trick ever with arm wrestling is just letting a bit go and then taking the initiative. Okay? It's the same as fencing, because people, we are stupid. We have lizard brains inside the intelligent brain. And when we fence, unfortunately, the lizard brain, most of the time. Alright, so just here, pushing, and then boom, music, okay? Pushing, boom. Pushing, boom. You can also do this from the other side because it's basically the same. So if you wanted, it's pushing, boom. Now, I'm pulling a bit more, alright? Boom. Pushing, boom. Alright? Got it? Do it, I don't know, like 30, 40 times and switch in them and close it up with the slices. So, we are somewhere here. The fight is commencing, okay? My opponent is doing shit. I launch a thrust and go over to Winden. Go, he wants to escape somehow. I don't care, because I go into more Winden and I'm done. So what I do is like, and I'm done. It was like sketch job, right? So more or less, really, it keeps you safe. This is super safe for me. This is the safest fencing distance. This is not as safe,
This is extremely unsafe. And this is extremely stupid. All right. So, but if I go into it, it's really true. It's really true that one of the best things you can do, unless you need to do some grappling, is just keep your distance, attack cover. If you're parried, stay here because your head and everything is the most danger. And deciding if to change the attack into a lower one is just a small detail. This is something that you do, okay? Of course, you can totally do it. You can attack here. Even one of the greatest skills I consider a really good skill is in this speed, in this distance, to be able to do stuff like, you know, like repetitive attacks on the same side, because this seriously fucks up the brain of the person who is defending, okay? Been there, done that, you know, it's like, boom, because it's completely unexpected. Usually we expect the opposite sides, okay? Now, as I said, we will push this a little further, so we're still here. I'm doing dupli and this, and my opponent can decide to go away or up with the hands like the parry, and in this case, I go into a slice, boom, and I finish it, okay? If my opponent pushes his hands upwards, I should go into a downward slap and boom, boom, and still stay covered and just pushing away from me, bing, 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 okay? Never expect this to be like the five ending things. It is just a transition into up to or into another attack, okay? If for some reason Matu tries to go away, like into a different cut, boom, I should fall and continue, boom, the rest of the stuff, okay? So always just we do this movement, alternatively this movement, going into these four positions, boom, 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 like here, 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 and this is all of wind that there is, okay? The only difference is the distance. I mean, I'm far away, I can go into thrust, and beat. I'm close, I need to go in the cut, or I'm super close, and I need to go in a wind and slice, okay? 10 minutes, just don't go too fast, okay? Don't break yourself, just like semi-open sparring again, semi-control. We try to go into Winden in multiple ways that you can. So enter with a thrust, or with a cut, or alternatively a slice, okay? I want you to... And our opponent can attack us at any point. Well, any point meaning, of course, they wouldn't go into a double hit. They would rather try to attack, to knockless us when we're here or here, okay? Now, for me as a fencer, using this movement, we have to understand that we are keeping our opponent away from us because he cannot come closer. If he comes, he will be hit, okay? So he has to be careful. And if he decides to attack either one below, I just do the movement again. Or if he decides to attack here, I can again parry from above. So this is, for me, this kind of movement is absolutely complete because at any point I am covered. At any point I can do a parry either from below or from above. And the options to attack me are relatively limited. Okay, so now, again one more time, I will be just doing stationary movement. Okay, my partner can try to attack me, boom, and I continue doing this movement, boom, very boom, and until the end of time, okay? So just very briefly do this and then we will continue, alright? Still keeping here, and I make it difficult for him, for instance, to do a timely thrust because it's difficult to get a bind on my sword, right? So it's very hard. If you want to do upsetsen or something, it's very difficult because I'm not giving him a lot of options to do it, okay? So when I'm moving a sword like this, I'm making it hard, and do not move it in a, let's say, in a regular manner, okay? Try to go a bit chaotically, so do not move like because then you create a pattern, and everyone who can do 1 + 1 will analyze that pattern and will attack into okay? So in this case, when I move, I'm trying to do it boom, boom, boom. So when they attack, I can respond or I can attack myself, all right? So the defensive measure is keeping at bay, and if I get attacked, boom,
I can respond with a parry like this, or if I'm above, then I can respond with a different thing. All right? The offensive measure is that if you feel that the distance is right and your opponent is passive and you have the opportunity with this, I can move and hit him with a strike below. Or if they do not point at me, if let's say Matu was really like that, I can use the movement boom, to make a cut, okay? Still whilst doing the motion, alright? So try to walk around, try to learn into the trap. With the attacks, boom, respond either with a somehow or something, alright? Or parry from below. So if he attacks now, parry from below and respond however you want. Or if you feel that your partner is too close, or sometimes he opens himself, boom, attack, or boom, attack, okay? It's still the same movement, so always keeping constant motion, always being defensive, always being wary of what's going on, trying to make irregular motion, and responding in a timely and proper manner, right?
The attacker can cut or thrust?
Cut or thrust, you can cut or thrust because more or less it will solve both of them, alright? Let's try it. When we approach someone, we should analyze them. We should analyze a few basic facts, okay? First fact is, of course, the physical part. So, for instance, is my opponent taller or is he shorter? Okay? Or are they standing in a taller stance or a lower stance? Okay, this is like super basic, which will plus minus tell you something about the reach, something about if it's better for you to do attacks from above because it will be easier to hit them, or go from below, or plus minus their strategy. Then we need to assess the temperament. Okay, so for instance, if my opponent is rather defensive type, or if they are rather an offensive type. Okay, because according to this, we need to discuss our tactics. Many people now. Many people in tournaments, mainly when they're young and new, they want to show themselves. So often what you see is you start a tournament and people are like, right? This is like, oh my god, right? So much jumping around and stuff. I mean, one good tactic is just to go around and wait until they will calm down. Of course, energy is not unlimited. But the thing is that sometimes when people move too much with their sword, it's difficult to find the proper moment when to jump in. Okay, you might be even the best thruster in the world, but simply if someone is just with their point, it's quite a risk to run there with the thrust. Because even if I maybe hit them, so maybe I hit them, I can hit accidental hit everywhere. Okay, so in that case, I have to choose a different tactic. Again, the number of tactics you can find your own, but let's say generally you might go into sniping, you might go into hands and try to go for different targets, I mean whatever works for you. But there is one strategy how to approach opponents maybe in a quite a safe manner if you're not sure about what kind of temperament, how they are going to react. And that kind of techniques are called, or I call them fallen or falling over. Okay, it is something like blocking, or imagine, let's say rapiers. It's more apparent in rapiers. And the technique consists from putting your sword over opponents and covering your entry. Okay, so it's not exactly a technique where I block and hit at the same time, because I need to find out what my opponent is going to do, so I know what's the correct time for me to enter. Okay, now we will go back a bit back to our Triton, which we did just now. Okay, so you go from you do this. Okay, don't attack me, just do this. Okay, so I've got someone who is doing this. Okay, and this is a bit problematic. Of course, I can wait for proper moment to naturalize them when their sword is there or there. But again, we already know that if someone knows what to do, they will be covered more or less in every point. So it's not a 100% win. So, but in this case, we may choose in the proper moment when our opponent is down to cover their sword. Okay. So we stop them for a moment, and then we can safely come closer and hit them with whatever, I mean, thrust, whatever. Okay? The main point is we're using our human lizard stupidity against us. Okay?
So what happens? This movement costs us some energy, okay? And if there is a strength to our movement, the problem is every time we hit something, usually most people, if they are not ready for it, they react by, I want to go for this all the time like that. Okay, even if I'm like this, I hit one, they're like, because I wanna go for this is like my way, okay? And this is exactly the moment we need. This is exactly the one tiny moment we need, because for a moment they hit our sword, okay? They hit our sword, and for a moment they lose some power, and they have to restart and go into a new movement. And this gives us a tempo. Okay? This gives us a tempo which we may use in order to go into our entry, to go closer. Okay? So think of it as a means of covering the potential opening and the potential trajectory of the sword in order to assess what's going to happen. So opponent is doing the punch. Here we put our sword, and now if nothing happens, I immediately continue into a thrust or into a cut. Or I block my opponent. He must end this movement and go somehow around, maybe other side, like this. He must go somewhere around, which again leaves time for me to decide the best course of action. Okay? So now, at first, we will try it with this striking. So one of you will be doing the striking movement, okay? So, or at least movements with the sword. And the other person will wait for the proper moment to lay the sword just like this over the opponent's sword. And in this moment, as they hit, we can continue with the thrust or cut, whatever suits you the best, okay? The outcome is up to you. It's just important to block it and to throw it in the correct time. Now, just a few things to remember. When we are blocking like this, it's important to block it in a way that we are pointing with our point somewhere towards the ground. Okay? This is because if my opponent was a little stronger, and if I did it like this, they would probably slide along my blade and it would have no effect. And here, in these positions, or in this position, depending on which side, of course, he does the movement, I'm interlocking my arms or my hands, and I'm getting a lot of mechanical strength without really being necessarily strong. Okay, this is extremely hard for you, and I'm not really holding this strongly. I'm just holding it together. Okay, or on this side, here, I'm just pointing slightly here, not like here, because here it will just slide off because I don't have enough power in this direction. But pointing like this, I will manage to lock it. Okay? So one more time. Opponent is doing this movement. I'm waiting. Do not cut. This is like I'm just going in a movement here. Okay? And when I grab it, I may continue in a thrust or something depending on what my opponent does. Okay? If he leaves if for some reason he leaves, I mean I don't have to continue, but again I can go with continuation if I wanted. Or if he goes into a cut, okay, again I already know that I can go, which is basically a fluke position. Basically it's a fluke position from fluke to ox. Okay? Let's try it. It's fantastic and easy, but then there's also a different blocking when my opponent is in a higher position, let's say like this or whatever, they plan to attack me like this. Multiple ways, we will do some of them. And it is, for instance, if my opponent is stationary, I can just run in under the pretense of a high parry, and when I force my opponent to cut or not, he doesn't need to attack me, then I can counter-attack, okay? Naturally, since we're doing the striker movement, my partner will do the striker movement, and now you can decide in which moment to enter and how to cover yourself. Either I'm going to run here, then attack with this one, or I'm going to wait until he comes up, and then both in whatever you need to do again, okay? This is just one of the ways. I would suggest, when doing this, if you want to be on the safer side, I would suggest
to put the sword in front of you, so there's a lot of ground covered by your blade. Okay? Or if you are really fast and can enter really close to your opponent, because this is like the crucial part, then it more or less doesn't matter if you can like catch the sword in the beginning of the movement because there's not enough power. Okay? From here, what would Lichtenauer do? Okay? Whatever you feel is necessary. So, one more time, we combine the two techniques. So, we move together, either I go and jump here, okay, or I wait for the moment where one is like going up, and now do whatever you feel needs to be done, okay? Yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to talk about. There's absolutely no need to rush in this, okay? Sometimes, or I would say most of the times, it's beneficial to hold the block for a little longer because you're making it complicated for the opponent, okay? You may ask yourself like, oh, but if I have more time to come with something, but actually, the more you block someone's potential actions, the more it fucks up with their brain, okay? This really happens, you will see it now, okay? You will see it even in this exercise. When we do this and suddenly someone runs and you're like, you have to both retreat or go forward, you're blocked, constantly like can't come up, okay? This is one of the most difficult things because here we're losing a lot of power due to the nature of the grip of our hand, okay? Or if someone's running in and there's no place where to attack because we know that in the moment we leave the bind, boom, a hit will come, okay? So it leaves us with not a lot of options, all right? Understood? Let's try it. It appears in various versions and there's multiple ways of how to achieve the ending position. But the difference is that if my opponent, let's say, is endangering me from above or moving or whatever, of course you may just run with a sword like that, but this is a bit risky. A bit risky because if I put my sword like that, there's a relatively large area for me to miss my blade and they can just either go above it or below it or etc. And I'm not even safe. The other thing is if I run just passively, meaning that my point is not pointing towards somewhere here like this, then I'm putting my hands into danger. Okay, a skilled opponent or someone who has a really good grasp of timing and tempo will just avoid some distance as they see me running in and hit my arms or something. Okay. In this case, there is the version where I can use this kind of closing in, meaning that I will throw my point down, I will cross my arms like that, and I will cover most of my body into a so-called hanging parry. Okay? So, or if you ever read Laküchner, meaning the messer in Laküchner, they call it a krum. Okay? So this is like a krum parry for them as well. So, what we will do now is, our opponent will be just above, okay? We will not do the moving for a few more minutes. So just above, and as we come close, first thing is that you will start moving and you will swing your sword underneath your opponent in order to catch him somewhere on your blade, okay? Not too low, again, not like this, not too high, but in a manner that it covers your body as much as you can in order to catch him in front of you, okay? Cool. And in this moment, there's a multitude of things that you can do, okay? You may either continue to hit here. If you are far away, you may do the thrust. If you want, you can just go around. And I also like, this one is like really painful. It's like, if you're here, you can just do a, because it's a large enough swing and it always lifts like, boo. You can hear the whole inside of the body of the person, right? So, as I'm standing here, I just throw the sword here, come close, and from here, whatever you feel is right. Okay, if you feel this kind of cut is better, do it. If you can get them for pin them like here, just do it. Okay. If you can go and get them into thrust, do it. Okay. And then after that, I will show you one which is like wonderful, but let's keep it for later. Okay. This one will be okay. I can do it like this. I can do it like this, but I can also do it like this. Okay, so basically the last way is what this quasi-cut utilizes. Okay, there are really many ways of how to do it. Many ways, because you don't have to necessarily do it against an incoming cut. Sometimes if opponent is just standing in some position, let's say, and you know that most probably, I'm looking at this, most probably he will just do some strike down, so you can just, I sometimes do stuff like coming in, getting it, and then doing stuff, okay? There is, depending, well, the thing that you're going to do as the continuation of this action, as the escalation, should depend on the position of your point, and it sometimes happens that when you enter, your point is quite high. In that case, there is a wonderful thing which Joachim Meyer utilizes as a circle. So if you're here, try to do a thing that you will do this kind of cut, and then you will do this kind of counter escalation. All right. So first thing, I'm going to my opponent. I'm going to this, then I lift my sword slightly, go and get in here, boom, and do this, okay? This is a very strong combination. You will see that it will it's like a Kamehameha, okay? So it will make of a very great power up. Down like here, so I'm here, from here, I go like this, and then multiple things you may do, this and this, okay? It's a great way of how to get also into feints and to some feinting, because once you're, sorry, it's my fault. So once you get here, boom, it's super easy just here to choose where you're gonna end and then to do the finishing, okay? So the technique once more, opponent waits, let's say in a upper guard or some form of upper guard. We will just throw our point underneath. We will slightly raise it, okay, with the technique, so there's place to make the sliding down, and here you can go there, boom, or you can go, I don't know, whatever you want, boom, or even just one, going with the flat like this in the Prellhau, and then continuing in the last Verhau. This is a nice trick, by the way, it's also from Mayer, maybe you can also try to take it. As I'm going here, you just slide like this. It's nice. I mean, try it. Okay? Let's do it. Immediately go, cover it up, boom, whatever. Okay? If they give us a different one, we go, boom, whatever. Okay? If they give us a higher one, boom, whatever. Okay? So we always cover the potential opening and attack, depending on where you went, okay? For those of you who are doing the openings, so I do the opening, Matthew covers me, okay? So just hit them lightly back to give some feedback for them to be stable in the position, okay? So when Matthew gives me over opening, over, okay, I block it, give me feedback, exactly for me to wait a second until it's safe to attack, okay? He gives me another feedback, goes down, gives me feedback, I go there, okay? He stays somewhere in the middle, I cover, boom, go there. If he gives me another one, boom, boom, okay? If he gives me the other one, I block, may hit or may not, okay? Depending on what you want to do, alright?
Yesterday we used to do the opposite. First thing and going to a leg.
That's
what makes you use one or the other?
I would say that this choice is up to you. If you trust in your abilities and are quick enough to be able to trust. But for instance, if I'm fighting a very advanced opponent and I'm not sure what they're going to do, and I know that they are trying to lure me into a trap, then I rather block them and the potential things that are coming from it.
Most of the time you press, okay, and then run.
Yes. Yes. But sometimes you need to do this. Sometimes you just cover because I'm not sure. For instance, I know that Matthew is good. You go put a position like this, and I'm not sure. Okay, so I'm not sure what you want to do. I cover, boom. Okay, this is the reason. Because I know that, for instance, if I try, if Matthew gives me an opening, and I go inside, he might try to do a counter thrust. And he's good in it.
and I don't want him to do that. Okay? Or I want to provoke him because Mato gives me an opening. Okay? I block him, he goes around. Boom. Okay? So this is exactly something which is like covering the openings, playing the game. Boom, boom, to see if I can make the entry. Okay?